Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Haley Rowe. I'm a marketing and sales coach and strategist for wellness professionals and life coaches and online service providers. And today we're really going to get focused on how you can go from certified with your coaching to confident in your coaching and different tools and things that you have to put in place to build a thriving practice. And so I'm really excited to be here with Nicole Lowe today. She has had the kind of career that really makes you lean in. She started her own production company in her mid-20s in Minneapolis, working on commercials, documentaries, music videos, and eventually she moved to California, climbed the corporate ladder at a Fortune 500 company, driving over $200 million in sales, but then made a big pivot. She became a board certified health coach, which is something many of you, I'm sure, can relate to. And as she was in the health coaching world, she was coaching people through real health challenges, and she saw something missing. The tools that coaches actually need to run their businesses didn't exist, so she built them. So today, Nicole is the founder and CEO of a company called Zoe, which is an all-in-one coaching platform that eliminates 60 to 70% of the administrative burden. So coaches can focus on transforming lives. She leads a diverse female-powered tech team, and her driving belief is simple: no journey was meant to be done solo. This is a conversation about reinvention, moving with fear, and building what the world needs, even when nobody has ever done it before. So I'm so excited to talk with you more, Nicole. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Haley. It's good to be here, and hi to everyone who's joining us.
Yes. So I want to take us back in time to when you pivoted to becoming a health coach and you were in those early days of being a health coach. What are some things that you wish someone would have told you back then that you want to advise any new coaches listening here?
Oh, it's such a great question. Thinking back in time when I first started off, you start off, you're super excited, you've got your certificate, you're just full of passion, full of energy. I wish somebody would have sat me down and said, Nicole, just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Set up your business, get out there, talk to people, meet with clients, and do that. Versus, I think what a lot of us do, and I know that I did when I first started off, was I have to have a shiny new logo. I have to have really pretty colors. I've got to build this brand. I've got to have all this content. And so those first few months, I feel like I really got bogged down thinking about all this content and thinking about things outside of myself versus just taking a deep breath and thinking, okay, what am I intending to do? What are my intentions for my business? And really thinking about who I am and what my place is and the kind of business that I wanted to manifest, and really just keeping it simple.
Yeah, I always say the same thing because I think it's very easy to think I can't really get started until I have a perfect, beautiful website or I know every single thing about my back end and program and whatever. And really a lot of that is built, I think confidence is built over time by doing things, right? And then the other thing is you don't want to go build everything when you're probably going to have to tweak it once you get feedback. Right? Would you agree with that?
I would. That's something that's really interesting when you build something, is you don't realize how many times you're going to pivot and change. And so it's really important, and I talk with coaches all the time about this, is that just start where you are. Just focus on where you are right now. How can you move the needle forward from A to B? Don't worry about Z yet and getting through the whole alphabet. Just start where you are. And you'll learn, and you'll be pulling your service to the marketplace. You'll be pulling your ideas to the world versus trying to build something all in, like just have this whole thing done, on day one.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me a little bit too about what, when you were starting out, was missing that led you to be like, oh, I need to make Zoe. And
Yeah.
tell us first, obviously, what Zoe is, but let's
Yeah.
go there.
Well, it was so when I became a health coach, I graduated from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and great training, super excited, started working with health coaches. But at the same time, they hired me as a coaching circles coach. And so what I was doing is I was working with other coaches their last, couple of months in school and helping prepare them for the real world. And it was during that time that so many coaches found out that I had a business background and built a company before. So they hired me as a business coach after they graduated. And so what I saw was that they were struggling with the same things that I was struggling with, really getting bogged down on being inundated in an industry that has a lot of noise as well, a lot of weekend packages, and you'll become the next super famous coach, you'll six-figure coach, all that kind of stuff, and not really knowing how to set things up in a way that was scalable or that was manageable. So what I saw is I saw myself, as well as all the other coaches I was working with, really focusing a lot on just getting into too much detail, setting up their billing, setting up their scheduling, setting up a website, and nothing actually worked together. And so they were fighting every single day, just trying to manage their business. And that really, sucked the energy out of them and distracted them from really being focused on their clients and creating the sacred space with their clients that's so incredibly important when you're setting up your business.
Yeah, yeah. So having that one-stop shop where they could make, their own scheduling link, their own, sales pages, things like that, I'm sure saves a lot of time. And what about, you mentioned that, one of the things too that you've seen among health coaches is fear of being like salesy or pushy, or even just learning how to do these things while having fear. Oh my gosh, like I'm starting my first program with my first client and I don't know how it's going to go because they're my first paid client. Like, how does somebody, because you've run a business before, and I'm sure there's been times where you couldn't see the whole picture and we couldn't see letter Z like you talked about when talking about the alphabet analogy. What would you tell a coach to move forward with fear and not let that stop them?
Yeah, it's easy for us to riff on this, right, and to talk about it, and it's another thing to put it in practice. And so, my first advice is just practice. Just practice on the baby steps, little things that might create some fear in you, or maybe you're uncomfortable asking for somebody to move from a discovery call to signing up for your program. Just try it. Just try it. The worst thing that can happen is they say no. But here's the wonderful thing, that the more you do it and the more you're confident in the service and the outcomes that you're providing your client, the easier it will become when you communicate that with them. And the other thing I recommend too is just focus on why you got into coaching. Like, we all got into coaching because we have a servant heart, but also think about, what is it that you are trying to solve for your clients? Maybe it's you're trying to help them lose weight. Maybe you're trying to help them have more confidence. Maybe you're trying to help them transition from, divorce and navigating what it's going to be like to be single again, and many, many other areas. Focus on that, focus on what you're serving up to your clients, and focus on your clients, and allow that to be your driving conversation. And if you get a little nervous, just remember, everybody gets nervous. They came to you because they're looking for help, and you're there, you're trained, you're equipped, you're amazing, and you have something that they really need, and have confidence in that.
Yeah, definitely. And if you are, I think when you bring up thinking about why you even got into this in the first place, naturally your marketing will come across as very authentic and focused on your audience, and not in your head and self, like, what are people thinking about me and all the different things. So how do you define like authentic marketing for a health coach?
Yeah, we actually have a business boot camp that we do, every couple of months, and we talk about that. We talk about the first thing in what I call the hierarchy of needs for coaches is to first really get very real with yourself. Like, who are you? And who are you as a person, as a coach? And what kind of clients are you wanting to work with? And staying very focused on that and try not to let that noise come in, because it's really easy for us coaches to go on Instagram or go on Google, and we see all this noise and all this stuff about people who it's perceived that there's all this success out there, and it's very noisy. Block that out. Just stay focused on what it is that you want to do. And staying true to your authenticity, it's important that you have a daily business meeting with yourself to remind yourself of who you are, to remind yourself of why you're doing this. And as you have that conversation with yourself more and more, those words will come out, and get them out. Journal, get it on a piece of paper, and you'll find incredible nuggets in there that you can pull out and put it into your marketing. And once you serve that up and get a few clients under your belt, 2 or 3 clients, start asking them, how are you feeling? How did this transform you? What does it feel like now versus it did, 2 months ago with this coaching? And start using the voice of the customer and what they're saying and what they're experiencing, and get that layered into your marketing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times your customers and clients will give you the best tidbits for your marketing. Like, one of the questions I ask in my client onboarding form is like, why did you choose to work with me as opposed to other options? And that is such valuable information because it helps me know what stood out to people, right? And the other thing is, like, one of my go-to phrases is, I'm the Mary Poppins of business resources. And that came from a client.
I love that. I've heard you say that. I love it.
So there were 2 or 3 clients who brought up Mary Poppins in random situations. And I was like, I got to use this, because they're like, oh, you're like Mary Poppins. You always have something to offer for, solving my problem. So, so I think that, in the beginning, you're going to take a guess as to what your message is, but over time, you can start to really lean into what your clients give you as feedback and use that, as you said. So what about you? When you started your health coaching business, tell me, like, where did your first clients come from? And give me 1 second. I'm going to close a window. You can talk, but I'm going to leave for 1 second and I'll be right back.
Okay, sounds good. Well, my very first client actually was my husband, Michael. And so for anyone who has seen my story background, I actually found Institute for Integrative Nutrition because I was absolutely overwhelmed and devastated when my husband was lying in ICU with coronary artery disease that was undetected. A couple of hospitals, urgent care, cardiologists, just every kind of test you can think of, and they all told him he was fine, but he wasn't fine. And he was laying there in ICU. He almost had a massive heart attack, and we found out that he was 99% blocked in 3 main arteries to his heart. We were 1 week away from going to Italy, and the doctor said we would have taken off out of LAX, and that would have been it. And that was a big wake-up call. I was not happy in my corporate job. I really just wanted something different for myself. And I found myself signing up for health coaching school. My entire family thought I was nuts. Like, what are you doing? You're giving up this great job with all this money, and you're going to be what? A health coach? So to answer your question, my first client was Michael, my husband, and I worked with his cardiologist, and I helped him go off all the medications. We completely had a massive lifestyle upgrade in terms of stress reduction, mindfulness, better eating, all of that. And we were able to manage his health with no medication. And the doctor, the cardiologist, was blown away. It was like, okay, I want something that you have. And so he started then sending his patients to me to help them with, stress reduction and better eating and just better lifestyle habits.
Yeah, I love that. And what a great, first of all, what a great why for getting started in all of this. And I love that you even formed a referral partnership. I mean, he just started referring people to you because he saw how great what you were doing was. So, what about for coaches listening who are maybe getting bogged down? Because I think I agree with you that to get clients, you have to start connecting with people, asking good questions to get to know them, to build relationships, to expand your network, offer to help, upfront maybe with some kind of content or freebie or support or whatever. And naturally, a lot of times the relationships you're building will turn into a clientele. But for people who are, that can sound very vague, and people can be like, well, I could do that on Instagram, I could do that on LinkedIn, I could do that locally, I could do that, da, da, da. How do you suggest they stay focused or pick something and not get like overwhelmed or shiny object syndrome? What would you say to that?
Yeah, it's this is such a yummy conversation. And I think, the very first thing that I would say is going back to what I said in the beginning, just keep it simple. Keep it simple and keep it real. And one of the things I talk with all the time about coaches is if you are not comfortable on social media, then that's not your place. If you're more comfortable writing blogs, that's your place. If you're more comfortable speaking live at events, that's your place. So the first thing is to find out who you are, be real with who you are, cut out the noise, what everybody else is telling you you're supposed to do. And then once you really identify how you show up in your best version of yourself, then you can create a marketing strategy around that. And then once you do that, then you look for the programs, the support, the help that can feed that part of you. But I see so many great coaches when they first start off that they try so many things that are outside of their comfort zone. It's okay. Well, first, let me rephrase that. Definitely push yourself out your comfort zone, but I see a lot of coaches trying things that is like jamming a square peg in a round hole, things that they're not showing up authentically, when their true passion and their true talent is just laying there, not being utilized because they feel like they have to do something outside of themselves to be successful. The biggest takeaway in this is that your clients will feel that. Your clients are there, your clients are out there, your clients need you. You just have to figure out who you are in relation to that and show up where they are.
Yeah, 100%. And I think a big reason why coaches do things that are like, out of their nature. I mean, I agree with you. You got to get out of your comfort zone, but they're trying methods that aren't, they're just making it harder for themselves instead of optimizing from their strengths, is because I think they don't have self-trust as a business owner
Mhm.
yet. And
Yeah.
so I think they're like, well, if someone else can just give me all the answers, then I'll do this and I'll
Mhm.
do it right.
Yeah.
But it needs to be a combination of taking feedback, advice, seeing what's out there, but also taking into account, yourself best, and you have to trust yourself and build that trust with you, that you honor what you say you're going to do, that you're willing to iterate as you go, all of that. So one question I want to ask you is, because in entrepreneurship, there's a lot of uncertainty,
Mhm.
and many people will get their certification and they'll think, great, I'm a business, I'm going to get clients. And then they find out, oops, actually, the future is very uncertain. I need to put myself out there. I need to be visible. I need to connect with people. So, how have you managed uncertainty and becoming more comfortable with that? Because you were in the corporate world. So, that's especially why I want to ask you this question. You
Mhm.
probably were feeling pretty good. And I mean, corporate's totally different, but there's a lot more structure. There's a lot more certainty potentially that can be perceived. So, how did you deal with that, like, uncertainty piece?
Yeah, I am not very well in the beginning, full transparency. I've learned a lot through the process. Back, just thinking back and also thinking about some of the coaches that are listening that are new coaches is take a deep breath. If you're thinking about becoming a coach or you're a new coach, whether it's a few months or the first couple of years, just take a deep breath. Just think about what's working. Be honest with yourself about here's where I'm seeing the grace. Here's where I'm seeing that I'm seeing abundance and there seems to be some great energy over here. And look at some things that you just feel like I said before, you're jamming a square peg in a round hole. That's probably not for you, and needing to let that go. There's always going to be uncertainty in entrepreneurship. I mean, you can be $1 billion company and you still are going to have stress and pressure, because the reality is when you build a business, there's markets, there's emotion, there's competition. There's so much that happens, whether you're a solo coach or whether you're a big company. So how you navigate through that is, one is it comes back to being very true and authentic to who you are. And when there's many choices in front of you, pick the simplest path. Think about, a business is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So you have to think in part, what can I do today to move the needle forward? But also you need to take some time too to think about what's the long-term strategy. Where do I want to be a year from now? How does this business relate, or intersect with my family, my husband, my wife, my partner, my children, my family? How are they potentially being affected by this, and bringing them into the conversation as well, and making sure that, and this is the biggest thing, making sure that you're setting yourself up so you're not doing this alone. I mean, the thing that I hear over and over again when coaches come to Zoe and I get into calls with them is they feel so alone. And you're not meant to do this alone. So find your people, get into your tribe, get into your community, get the support you need, talk to your partners, talk to your family, make sure that you're getting the support that you need to be filled up to do this.
Yes, amen. It can be very lonely if you're just going at this by yourself. And that is part of why I created my inner circle, which is a community of health and wellness coaches and life coaches who are going on that journey of A to Z, setting up their business, getting their first clients, things like that. And it's so nice to see in the community people, being beta clients for each other, or showing up to each other's webinars, or just like being like, hey, there's a typo in your post, check it out. Like that, we just kind of look out for each other. And I think that you also are providing that with Zoe by, well, a couple things. I mean, I'm sure there's a community component, which we'll touch on, but you also are simplifying this scary journey that they would have to alone set up like 5 different platforms. I got to get a website. I got to get a scheduling link. I got to get a payment processor. And you're like bringing it all into one place, one community, and helping them do that. So tell me a little bit about Zoe, that things that you want them to know.
Sure, absolutely. So Zoe is, like you said, it's an all-in-one platform where it's, plug and play. You have one login, you have everything that you need to run your practice management. So the calendar, scheduling, billing, free website, client management, communication, and more, all of that is in one central hub. The community part of this is that we really encourage coaches, students, because we work with certification schools as well, for students to get into Zoe and use the video hub and get your hours in. Zoe tracks hours, so you can do peer-to-peer coaching in Zoe, form your relationships, your networking partners, and you can do all of that right in Zoe. The biggest thing is like when I think about Zoe versus trying to like cobble together all these different platforms, one is it's going to save you a ton of money, but it's also going to save you a ton of time. And it's also going to make you look more professional with your clients, because there's nothing worse than a client, let's say, cancels, and then you forgot when they canceled, and then you sent them a bill, but it was within the 24 hours, and you got this awkward conversation, or you missed a WhatsApp message, a text message, email. Wait, where did she send? Okay. That just doesn't look very professional. So an all-in-one is something that I highly recommend. And with Zoe, we are truly built by coaches. Like, we built a product not from a technology perspective, we built it from a coaching perspective. Like, what do you actually need to create that sacred space between you and the client?
Yes, I love that. So for anybody who does want to check out Zoe, we'll put it in the show notes at haleyrowe.com. Or you can message one of us and, we'll get you hooked up. But I think that this is just really important because this takes one thing off your plate. Entrepreneurship's already hard. Let's not make it harder by trying to look everywhere for 10 million different platforms. So I want to ask you where everybody can find you. Share with us all the links. How can people stay connected with you?
Yeah, absolutely. The best way is just go to zoe.com, zoe.com. You can connect with us there. You can also check us out on Instagram, at Zoe App. We're on LinkedIn as well. You can always reach out to us, hello@zoe.com. We have a whole team of people that will connect with you. Even if you feel like chatting with us, just go to the website and say, hey, I'd like to chat with you. And I've got a team of people that are very chatty and just love to hear from coaches. So
great. Amazing. And if you are watching this and you are listening, you're in the first steps of your business, I have a freebie that's a great place for you to start if you're trying to get clear on your message, your niche, how you communicate what you do, because let's face it, it can feel a little tough when people ask, what do you do? And you're not used to answering that question as a new entrepreneur. So if you want my free message mastery and niche cheat sheet and class, you can go to haleyrowe.com. It's on the homepage, or there'll be a pop-up. You can get the free gift. And thank you so much for being here, Nicole. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate being here. Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye-bye.